and we're so happy that you're here joining us today. We have a fantastic, of course, as always, show. I have my co-host Tiffany here with me. Hi,
Hello.
Tiffany. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. And we have Erin Humphreys and Grace Boyer from Velvet Box here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Velvet Box is a really important part of our show because they just help support the education and the, the overall feel of Let's Talk About Sex. So, you guys, I don't know if you realize this, my little listeners, my awesome listeners, but tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So if you haven't gotten something for Valentine's Day and you have a partner and you want to get something for Valentine's Day, Velvet Box is a great place to do that because you guys know it's not an ordinary store. It's beautiful, it's classy,
It's true.
and they educate on all of their products in a very upscale and friendly environment. So I want you to go visit one of their 5 locations, and we're going to talk about why you need to go tomorrow specifically here in a minute.
Yes.
But if you want more information, and they also have educational classes, that is my favorite part, at thevelvetbox.com. So thank you, Velvet Box, and thank you, Grace and Erin, for being here today. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. We're
Yeah.
excited.
Well, I'm more excited than anybody because I just love, I'm a huge fan of Velvet Box, and I love what you're doing with marketing. I love the talent that comes in to Velvet Box and how you educate them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but first I would love to know a little bit more about you, and then let's talk a little bit about what's going on at Velvet Box tomorrow. So Grace, do you mind introducing?
Absolutely. My name is Grace Boyer. I am the marketing director for Velvet Box. I've been with Velvet Box for 1,000 years. No, just kidding. I think this year will be my 6-year anniversary. I'm pretty sure.
Awesome.
It feels like just yesterday, honestly. But I love it. It's great.
Awesome. And Erin?
Hi. So I am Erin Humphreys. I am the talent coach for Velvet Box, which is a really interesting job because it's everything from product knowledge training and policy training for all of our associates and our staff, to super fun HR processing.
Yes, exactly.
But
Shout out to all the HR folks out there.
That's right.
Bless. It's a tough job. I've been with the Velvet Box for coming up on 2 years. I love it. I would not want to be anywhere else. I'm very thankful. It's a great
And I am
experience.
very thankful to have Erin because before Erin was here, I was doing that and her job.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
So
yeah.
I
bet you
am
are.
very grateful for Erin's
Yes.
position and Erin
Yeah.
to be here.
You're such a giver. I love it.
That is awesome. So tell us a little bit about what's going on tomorrow. This is like the hottest
I know.
of hottest topics right now. What is
Yes.
going on at Velvet Box? I'm super excited about
So
this.
tomorrow at our West 7th location, which is the 2917 Morton Street, not only can you stop by and get your significant other something very significant, but we also have 66 & Co. is coming out with their adorable little food truck. They're going to do cupcakes and chocolate covered strawberries. And the Lace Bouquet is coming out, and they are also going to do flowers. So you can it's a one-stop shop. You can come in, you can get everything you need, especially if, like some of you, I'm sure, maybe didn't prepare for Valentine's Day, which is totally fine. It happens. It's me every year.
Yeah.
So
It's a bit of a busy time for all of us
just a
as
little bit,
professionals.
yeah.
A little.
It's a little busy.
It's I like to call it the vibrator apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like
There you go.
especially like when
true.
when 50 Shades came out a couple of years ago, it was nuts. But the Lace Bouquet and 66 & Co. will be at VB2, so that is our West 7th location. They will be there from 5 to 8 p.m.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And what is Lace Bouquet?
That is she's a florist.
She's a florist.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so flowers, cupcakes, and anything from the Velvet Box.
That's right.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. You guys, come on out. So Valentine's Day is my partner's birthday.
Oh, nice.
So I always tell him he doesn't have to get anybody else anything on his own birthday. But maybe we might swing by. I mean, it
Yeah,
seems
absolutely
like,
should.
cupcakes for a birthday.
Yeah.
And these
Perfect.
cupcakes are not
Yeah.
ordinary by any stretch.
No.
Like, can I just say how excited I am that there's going to be a raspberry champagne flavored
Yes.
cupcake because I'm here for it.
Delicious.
I'm excited.
Delicious.
I'm number 1 in line.
Yes,
We're really excited to
Raspberry
have her.
champagne.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome.
That's a fancy cupcake.
Right?
The fanciest.
It's a
I
nice
want
cupcake.
one of those.
Yeah.
I think
Same.
we need.
I think I might have to go over there tomorrow.
Yes.
Mhm.
They're just not going to be there till 5.
Yeah, 5 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
5 to 8.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Do it. Do what you need to do. Well, that's amazing. And we will remind you at the end of the show, too, kind of what's going on tomorrow. So let's kind of dig into your positions at Velvet Box and kind of what drew you to the industry. So, Grace, I know you're the marketing director. Mm-hmm. What drew you to marketing in this specific, really fun industry?
So, a funny story is I actually started as a part-time sales associate at Velvet Box. Mm-hmm. I do have a background in marketing, and I do have a background in social media, but I was also an event coordinator, and hated every second of it. Like, I was a wedding planner for very large hotels, and I also dealt with lots of football teams and baseball teams. And I hate to tell you guys who are listening, they are giant babies. And I don't know if I dislike them or weddings more, right. But I don't like either.
Right.
And planning events for them was stressful. I was never home.
Yeah.
So I said, when we moved to Texas, a little over 6 years ago, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to find something else. So there was a part-time associate position available, and I said, I'm going to take that and see what happens, while I'm looking. And then I absolutely fell in love with this industry, and I just couldn't learn enough fast enough. I was so excited every day to learn new things. We have a sexologist on staff, Beth, as you know, and she does all of our classes. And I every time she'd be like, well, there's this book, but it's very technical. And I'm like, give it to me. Yeah. So I would just read everything and learn as much as I can. And this job is addicting.
Yeah.
Like this lifestyle, this industry is very addicting to work in, and I love it so much. And I just couldn't leave no matter what. So I've just moved up a little at a time, and Marcel thankfully saw that I loved social media and marketing, and then promoted me. So I love this industry, though. It's great.
It's really fun, and we're not in necessarily the same part of the industry, but in the same topic. And it's one of the once I found this as as like a career, it was really almost freeing.
Yes.
Oh, I could be and say the things that nobody else can say.
Exactly.
Yes.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wasn't born with that little chip in my head that says you should be embarrassed to talk about this.
Right.
And my dad always told me that was going to get me in trouble. Little did he know that plus the sarcasm that he also told me was going to get me in trouble landed me a pretty nice job.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I really love that. I think that I think a lot of people don't really see the power of sexuality until you are in it or in an industry like it, and then it's like, oh wow, this really does change people's lives. So
it does. It changed mine. It changed my marriage completely, because stuff that I was afraid to talk about before, even though we had been together since we were junior. I was a junior in high school. I was afraid to talk about or whatever. It just completely opened us up, and we're happier now than we ever were before, which is great.
Oh, I love that. Makes my heart sing. I'm so happy. That's awesome. Okay, so Erin.
Yes.
So tell us about your entry into this industry and into the Velvet Box.
So, like Grace, I actually started out as a part-time sales associate. I fell into that job because I went to Texas Women's University in Denton.
Yay!
Yes.
I'm an alum of Texas Women's.
Yay! Me too! So I was going there, and I was trying to finish my degree, and I'm sure you know the climate in Denton. Nobody wants to hire for part-time and give you consistent hours. And so I was not down with working 4 or 5 jobs. At the time, I was working for a law firm a couple days a week and doing that from home a lot as well. And I was like, I really want to do something that won't cut into school time, that will benefit me, that will make me feel good and helpful, without it being, another 20 hours a week in food service. Not that I mind it. Been there, done that. Love it. Mad support. But, so I applied for the Velvet Box, and I went in and I interviewed, and I was immediately just taken with the industry because I've always been very sex positive. Even though I grew up in rural Texas, so I grew up west of Fort Worth. I grew up on Possum Kingdom Lake.
Okay, right.
And
hashtag toadies.
Yes.
I questioned whether that was a real place.
It is. It's a real place.
When she told me that, I was like, what now?
And
flashbacks to the Goofy movie.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We just, the school district that I graduated from was amazing. It was a fantastic school district, but sex education wasn't super prominent there, and so I've always been the friend that people would ask questions.
Right.
Because I have very open, loving parents who never shied away from questions. And
Go parents.
Yes, amazing. I love my mom and dad. They're great. So I ended up with Velvet Box, and I was just part-time forever, and I actually took like a month leave and went and traveled after I graduated from college. And then I, called and said, can I please come back?
And I said, yes, please.
Yes. It was not only can you come back, but let's talk about your future here. Yeah. And so we created this position, which is the talent coach. And so what I do, the original title was training and recruitment administrator, but that doesn't sound fun at all. So, so I handle all of our recruiting and training and hiring and stuff like that. And I also handle continuing education for like current associates and things like that. Grace and I are in the middle of redoing our handbook and our sex education program that we put all of our associates through. Mm-hmm. It is by far the most inclusive job I've ever had. It's also the most rigorous as far as training process is concerned, and I don't think people realize it at all. They're like, oh, you're selling sex toys, which, I mean, technically, yes, but we're really not. We like to say that we are in the people business. We just happen to sell vibrators.
Yeah, totally true.
And that's 100% it. Like 94% of my job is teaching people to communicate with their partners and teaching people that it's okay to have those conversations.
Yes.
And that's how I ended up where I am, and I love it. Grace and I had a talk when I came back, and I was like, I would just really like to see everybody trained consistently, and, we have like one person that's handling it, and then everybody has the same education, and we can hold everybody to the same standard. And she was like, yes, that's why I want you to do this.
And I said, funny you should say that. Because I have an idea.
Yeah.
And so my position is thanks in part to Grace, of course, and in part, I mean, all completely, completely thanks to Grace.
Well, I just love so many aspects of that story, women supporting women and promoting internally and understanding the importance of continuity and things like that. So, big props to Grace and big props to Marcel for seeing potential in you as a sales associate and moving you up. So, so like, when you're talking about, since you started to talk about the training of the associates, can you tell us a little bit more about what that process involves, or like if anybody's interested in getting into this kind of work?
So let me just preface this with, we are hiring, and I would love to hear from you. Please put in an application. So our application process is online, like almost everybody else these days. We ask our associates to fill in some personal information, of course, but nothing like what you're thinking. It's your standard application, right?
Not personal information, you guys. Come on.
Right. I get that question all the time. That's one of the first questions when somebody finds out where I work. They're like, okay, but what do you do though? And the answer is super boring. It's I teach people sex education. And that's really what my job is. So we have a 2-week training period where associates are expected to learn everything from anatomy and physiology to common sexual dysfunction to how to have conversations that are difficult with people. Because the reality is that in our business, our customers share more with us than they share with their doctors. Yes. They share more with us than they share with their spouses. Yes. They share more than they share with their best friends a lot of the time. Or, they're super open and they're just, here to have a good time. But probably 90% of our customers, it takes a little time to build that relationship and get them to open up.
Right.
And so while I just think it takes a really special person to be able to make other people feel comfortable enough. And I want to make sure that I can help mold that special person into having the answers that someone needs. Yeah. And so as far as our training process is concerned, like I said, we go over anatomy and physiology, common sexual dysfunction. And guess what, guys? You find out that when I say common sexual dysfunction, I mean extraordinarily common, and you find out these really intimate, important parts of people's lives. And I just think it's a really beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. So I have always thought that people in your position and in the sales associates positions act as community liaisons. They're basically health educators, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Health educators, which is an incredibly important position in the terms of the community. Like, this is where I go to get my sex education, essentially. Now, people don't think about it that way, but that's essentially what you're doing. Right. You're creating sex educators that help the community get to a better place.
Yeah. So when I was on the sales floor, there was a lot of times where we would have women come in the store who had never been in an adult store before, and they were in their 60s, referred to us by gynecologists, for various sexual dysfunctions and stuff like that, where they had to come to us. There was no other alternative. Yeah. And, they wouldn't say the word vibrator. They wouldn't barely say the word vagina.
Right.
They were terrified of everything. And I've received thank you notes. I've received hugs. I, see them in Walmart or Target or whatever, and they say hi. So it's not just that we're communicating. We're legitimately changing people's lives. Like, we're legitimately helping them with their health, with their sexual health, but also just, with their relationship.
Yeah, it makes me almost like emotional.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
because it's just speaks to the power of sexuality. Like, we don't often sit and think about how powerful our sexuality actually is. Like, if sex can, sell cars and break up families and like unite countries and disunite countries and create life, like
yes.
Sex is so powerful. And so when we speak the truth into sexuality, we step into our own power. And I know I'm getting ethereal, but I think it's a really important and very tangible way that you're talking about this, right? With people that come into the store, like helping them embrace their own powerful tool of sexuality is life-changing. It's
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I wrote an article not too long ago, I guess it was a couple weeks ago actually, about 8 sex resolutions for 2019.
I love it.
And one of those was get to know yourself, get to love yourself. Because if you don't know how you like to be touched, then your partner's not going to know. If you don't know that, there's ways to learn that, just spend some time with yourself and, try new things. I always say, and I've told my customers for years, don't knock it till you try it twice.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Just because you've had a bad burger does not mean all burgers are bad.
Yeah.
So, maybe the chef just didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
So don't knock it till you try it twice.
And I
is my motto.
Because, like, the first time is allowed to use your error.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're finding your footing. Like,
yes. You don't know the proper way to do things, especially in regards to like anal sex or anything like that.
Right.
Oh,
you don't know the proper methods. No one tells you these things.
No.
There's not instructional, or there wasn't when we were kids.
No.
They're a little easier to come by now. But when
Right.
we were young, there was no instructional manuals on any of this. It was, don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah.
Exactly. Don't do it.
And like, people go to things like pornography for in education, even if they don't realize they're doing it.
Absolutely.
And it's just such a poor education.
Absolutely.
Pornography is entertainment, not education.
Yes.
And so having resources like sexual health educators, like us, like us, is so important to your own sexual growth. So you can not be disappointed or have the right expectations and really get to know yourself in a way that's meaningful and powerful for yourself or your own relationship.
Right.
So,
and learning that there are different kinds of everything. So there's different kinds of stimulation. Just because you don't like one vibrator doesn't mean you're not going to like the other. Just because you didn't like his touch or her touch doesn't mean you're not going to like somebody else's. Right. It's all about the situation, and it's all about the specific person or item or whatever that you're using. Because they're all very different. One bad experience with lube doesn't mean that, you're going to have. Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
So we've heard that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Something I talk about in the practice a lot is context.
Mm-hmm.
Context and nuance are like the keys of sexuality. Like, in this context, I would never be aroused. But in this context, doing the same thing, I am aroused.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So context and nuance are really keys to making sexuality really great for you. But if we think only in behavior, like, okay, this one touch, like, I didn't like it, so I'm never going to do it again. You have to think of in behavior and context, do I like it?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, that's totally true.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about marketing a little bit.
Yes.
Do you mind if
Absolutely,
we go here?
go for it. I love going here.
Okay. So they say that sex sells. Do you think that is true? Why or why not? That's my big question for you.
I think that sex sells Pepsi. I think that sex sells,
every Carl's Jr. ad you've ever seen.
Carl's Jr.
Wait a minute, and it sells dental ads.
Yes.
true.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you
I
seen
make
them at
teeth.
Dentist
I make teeth sexy. That's what she says.
And I can't really get if that is the dentist.
I have no idea.
Or if that's
I don't
just
know.
like a model.
If it's the dentist, I'll show up.
Then what you think? Like, if I have to stare at somebody the
right.
whole time, she's cool. She looks good.
My fear of the dentist is something.
Some anesthesia. I want her teeth.
Yeah, like I think that sex sells all of that, but you cannot use sex to sell sex. Facebook especially will shut you down. We have had ads. I have seen Carl's Jr. ads and Pepsi ads that are way more sexual than an ad that we tried to place that literally just said, "I love my boyfriend," and it literally got rejected.
Yeah.
There are advertisers that won't take our money.
Right.
I mean, because of what we do, because of the stigma of what they think that we do. So not that they've ever been in our store or would know any better.
Right.
We've even created landing pages that are just about lingerie or just about sexual health and wellness. We still get shut down.
Yeah.
So I think sex sells everything but sex.
Yeah.
And it's
so
very
good.
hard to sell pleasure products or sexual education. Not even sell it. We're trying to give it.
Right.
We literally created an entire part of our website. It's called it's thevelvetbox.com/spice things up, and it's free resources where you can download quizzes, take them with your partner about where you like to be touched, how you like to be touched, what kind of stuff that you're into. We can't even advertise that on social media without getting shut down. And so
it's flagged as inappropriate.
It is flagged as inappropriate. Yeah. We've been flagged several times. And they say that, you're not operating within Facebook guidelines, but like we're not, foreign entities can, place ads for whatever they're placing ads for. And we can't place an ad saying, "I love my boyfriend." It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I definitely have come up against those same things, like trying to place ads in Facebook, and it's bizarre how much can get passed, like as you say, and I've never even thought about it that way, but it's so true. Sex can sell everything but healthy sexuality.
Exactly. Like, it's like almost like we're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I know there's one of the companies that I love she's a blogger. She got flagged on Twitter for saying the word clitoris. And her account got shut down for 24 hours.
Yep.
But there you can say all kinds of terrible things on Twitter.
Right.
So I was like, really? That's the word? All right.
Like, clitoris is the one.
It's a technical body term, but okay. It's like medical, but all right.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's interesting to me what does fly and what doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially once you've been in this industry so long, we're kind of immune to the words that we say every day. Like when I meet new people, I legitimately tell myself, do not ask them what kind of vibrator they use.
Right.
That's not a normal conversation outside of work.
It's
not socially acceptable to ask them that kind of thing. But it's normal for me.
To you, like when
all
you said,
the time. I know what you're going to say.
You're like, well, this is what I do. And then it's like.
Then the questions come.
Then
yes.
all the questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
From the places you least expect it.
Yeah, like, oh,
my favorite are people who outwardly would demean my job or make light of, make fun of, or just shun it altogether, but then private message me on Facebook with questions about
Just
some of the
DMs.
things that make you go, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to me which ones, whose face is what when it comes to that stuff. But yes, all the time.
Yeah.
As soon as people learn what you do for a living, then my husband says, "I hate to take you to parties," because then it's like you're the party favor. Everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody has questions.
Yeah, it's definitely part of it. Comes with the territory.
It does come with the territory for sure. Yeah. And Aaron, I'm married, but Aaron's in the dating scene, so I imagine that's difficult as well.
Yeah. So
not that you have to disclose anything about it, but
it's kind of interesting. So,
so what'd you do at work today?
Yeah, that conversation's always fun. Like I always say,
when I was actively seeking, I currently have a partner, but I was seeking a partner, and I would wait 4 or 5 dates to tell people what my job was because it was either as soon as I tell you, you're going to take it 100% the wrong way, and that tells me that I don't want to be around you anyway.
Right.
Or it was, well, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with you telling my Nana that if you ever meet her.
Right.
So my current partner, we've been together for 4 or 5 months. He keeps track of that, I know. And I went to family Christmas, and I was like, so when inevitably someone asks me what I do you want me to be honest, or do you want me to say that I work in retail? And he was like, no, tell them. They need to know.
Yes, current partner.
Yes.
And I went to another family gathering and met like 30 people because he doesn't go slow. That's fine. And I was like, again, do you want me to be honest or do you want me to just like ease them into it? And he was like, no, tell them. And I swear to God, there was like an 80-year-old aunt there, and she's like, oh, I know about the Velvet Box.
I'm your best customer.
And she was like, do you have any coupons? And I was like, actually, I do. Here you go.
Yeah.
And it turned out that like these were all people, like several other people in the room were like, yeah, we shop there and so on and so forth. And this was unheard of conversation at the dinner table.
Right.
But it's interesting. Once that people find out that you work there, they immediately become much more open and comfortable with you. Yeah. Which is both a great thing and also an uncomfortable thing sometimes. You know, like I've had people that I graduated high school with that I haven't talked to in 8-9 years that are like, hey, by the way, saw that you're working here. Yeah. What's a good lube?
Just thought I'd ask you.
Yeah.
Just like over my morning cereal, and I'm like, okay, well, these are the ones that I would recommend because I'm always happy to make recommendations.
Absolutely.
But
do you find that you always also, I'm sure you get this too, because of your job, you use technical terms
all the time.
Oh, all the
even
time.
with your friends, like because we're trained not to use slang terms, so we don't. No. And even now, it's so ingrained in us, which I love. I do love that even now, like when I'm talking to my friends, I'm using medical terms for everything.
I'm like, let's talk about like how you should explore your vulva and why.
Yes.
Like, but I don't, no slang terms. No, thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely on that spectrum of like being proper. Proper is probably not the right word, but like medical, or clinical. And what you were saying before about like it kind of feels like this honor to me, and I'm assuming it does to you, of carrying the weight of people's sexuality or people's secrets or disclosures. It's such an honor, and it's like kind of given to just a few people in the world.
It's true. It's very true.
And to be that person that people are so comfortable with that they would, after 5 minutes of seeing you in the store, would say, well, listen, I have a really hard time getting wet, or I can't have an erection, or I haven't had
both
one
are totally normal.
Right.
Yes.
In all age
really
ranges.
hard to disclose to somebody because nobody's having these conversations, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I just feel like so honored that I get to be in this job where people trust with me with their most sensitive subjects, and I'm assuming that's how you.
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Too. Yeah. Very, very good. I just love. I'm still thinking about what you said about sex sells everything but sex. I think that's really fascinating.
It's very true. It does make my job quite difficult. Like there's things that I can get away with on Twitter and Instagram, which is funny because Instagram owns Facebook, that I cannot get away with on Facebook. I have to be very careful. And it's also, age ranges, target demographics on certain websites that follow us. But it's very difficult. It's a lot more difficult than you would think. I'm just going to share pretty pictures of sex toys that are cute, and no.
And they're
you
not
have to
even
be very
phallic looking.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Not even skin toned or anything. It's just like
And
plastic.
what's funny is like sometimes I will share those just because they're like, we had one of our vendors, XR brands, come in and they have this thing called the fireman's hose, and it's like 19 inches long. It's crazy. And they stuck it to the back of the door in the office, and it was so funny to me that I took a picture and I shared it on our Instagram. Tons of hits, tons of likes. Never got flagged. But then I shared a picture of one of our other favorite vendors, which is WeVibe, one of their products, which is non-phallic. I mean, honestly, you wouldn't know it was a vibrator unless I told you. And it got flagged. It's so bizarre to me, like what does and what doesn't.
Yeah, like who is in the control room going
who's in a bad mood today?
This is inappropriate.
Who did not get any laughs?
Right, exactly.
Like
I'm
this
just
story
saying.
that helps both people feel pleasure, absolutely not appropriate.
Somebody's really upset with their partner.
Something
and
hanging off the door.
Yeah. Totally
Wow,
appropriate.
chicka wow,
Fine.
wow.
Yeah, exactly.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, run some commercials, and we'll be back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Velvet Box, what's going on, your kind of positions and roles there, and we'll be right back.
Awesome.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're back.
And on that note,
yeah, we were just talking about listening to that commercial about the world record.
We were talking about pizza, we swear.
and I said it's the big one.
It is
over
the
there
big
at the
one.
Moon Tower.
So welcome back to Let's Talk About Sex. I'm Dr. Celeste Holbrook, and we have Erin and Grace, and of course, as always, Tiffany, with us here in the studio today. And we're talking about Velvet Box. You guys, if you haven't gone down to the Velvet Box, they have 5 locations, and you should definitely hit them up, especially maybe even tomorrow, because you could get some cupcakes.
That's totally true.
And flowers. So flowers and cupcakes from 5 to 8 tomorrow night at the West 7th location.
It's true. Yes.
And then let's just mention this real quickly. Next month you have a really cool event going on. Tell
We
us
do,
about
and you
that.
guys are kind of getting the scoop because we haven't really put out any press releases on this yet. I know.
We're so excited.
We're so excited.
First to know.
The March 28th, that night at the West 7th location, we will be having a ladies' night. There are a lot of things TBD. We have some vendors coming in. They're going to do demonstrations. We're going to have door prizes. We're going to have drinks.
there will be a costume contest.
Yes, it's a disco themed,
Yes.
because ladies' night, oh, what a night.
Yes.
We're going to have a disco theme. So costumes are not required, but they are heavily encouraged.
Heavily encouraged.
I will be in
Always.
costume.
We will be in
Yeah.
disco costume.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm glad you're mentioning this because we have a good 6 weeks to prepare
Yes.
costume
Yes.
ideas.
Yes.
Okay. Like,
Yes.
come on.
I was like, does it have to be 70s disco? Could it be 70s comic books? Because I have everything for that.
Right,
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Just dig through my cosplay closet. Hold on.
There we go. I love it. So, ladies' night, because we're celebrating
Women's History Month,
Women's
yes.
History Month. Yes, perfect. And some of the local bars are kind of participating
Yes.
too. Perfect.
Yes.
So some of the local bars will be giving out drink specials if you are still wearing the wristband from the event. So that's good. So as soon as you're done with us, you can go over to the bars and have some nice drink specials, some nice, really great cocktails and stuff like that. So
We're talking about food pop-ups and
yes,
stuff as
absolutely,
well.
the food.
So very
It's gonna be
exciting.
yummy.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. March 28th is just not too long from now.
It's
if
true.
you're looking for a girls' night out, this is the perfect event
Yes.
for
Yes.
you.
And it's
I think
not
that's
closed to men, so
No,
bring your
no.
partners. We want you to bring them and show them what you like and what you don't like. Yeah. So go out with your girlfriends or go out with your guy friends. It's fine. Either way.
awesome. All the peoples.
All the
Yay.
peoples.
It's always a good day to celebrate women. So that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, if you're just joining us, we have Grace Boyer and Erin Humphreys, right?
Yes.
And they're from Velvet Box. I was like, oh my goodness, don't lose this last name now. They're here from Velvet Box, and we're kind of talking today about their different positions, roles within the company. Grace is head as marketing director, and Erin is the talent coach. So she's the one who brings in the associates and educates them on how to be a great liaison for you when you come in the store. So you get all of the professional, educated information about any of the products you're buying or anything you're experiencing in the bedroom. So awesome stuff. So Erin,
Yes.
what do associates love about working in the store and like interacting with the customers?
So almost all of our associates are hard people. So
Yeah.
we love people. We're all very chatty and very sociable and stuff like that. So that social aspect is probably the biggest thing that I hear. But as far as the Velvet Box specifically is concerned, I constantly hear feedback from my associates that they love the emotional reaction that they get from their customers because as I mentioned before, like I said, people are sharing things with us that they don't share with other people, that they don't share with doctors, therapists, spouses. And so we build really personal relationships in a really short amount of time. You know, all of us have recurrent customers and stuff like that will ask for us by name. Literally, when I graduated college, I had 3 different customers that brought me graduation gifts. And
Yes.
I mean, just it's a whole thing. And so as far as our associates are concerned, I constantly hear, wow, that was really powerful and that was really moving for me to see that, you know, I'm not just making a sale. I'm not, you know, selling a flogger or whatever, lube, massage oil. I'm really building someone else's confidence and their sexuality.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest thing I hear from our associates.
Yeah. I think that's such a powerful thing and probably something that the general public doesn't think about the power of being in this role and helping somebody with their sexuality. And, you know, we could talk about this until the day is over. But I just think it's good for people like our listeners to hear the approachability of you two and how that's how you will feel going into the store. Like, you know, if you're hearing Erin and Grace kind of talk and speak and you feel like, oh, they could be my best friend. Like, that's how I feel too. And that's how you're going to feel going into the store. So you don't have to feel intimidated. You don't have to feel like it's, I'm a little embarrassed or whatever. Like, you can just go in and the sales associate is going to help you figure out what's the best fit for your needs.
You know
Absolutely. And I always say, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I always say, don't feel embarrassed, because I guarantee you whatever you're going to tell me or ask me is not the craziest thing I've heard that day.
That's exactly what I say.
Like,
word for word. Yeah.
If you think it's the craziest thing, you know, that you could think of, I still guarantee it's not the craziest thing I've heard.
Right.
So you're fine. You know, don't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Trust me, I'm not going to flinch.
Yeah.
I love how they make it like just a normal conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
You
I
just
always tell
walk
people-
in, it's just like, where'd you go for lunch today? Well, what positions did it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a normal
Exactly.
thing. And to where it makes it a normal conversation at home in the bedroom.
Yes.
And it's not difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if your partner's like, what? They're probably just like shocked that you even have talked about it.
Right.
Right.
Now they're all excited that they can bring it up.
And
Right.
that's kind of our goal
freedom.
too, is kind of to make it a normal conversation. We don't want it to be so taboo, especially between, you know, if your partner, your closest friends, your doctor, you know, we want that to be something that you are able to discuss with people who are the closest to you and should know you the best. You know, it shouldn't be us. It should be your partner.
Right.
But
We want to be able to give you that vocabulary,
Exactly.
that confidence.
Yes.
exactly.
And I always tell people, because of course people ask, they're like, what's it like working there? You know what I mean? And I'm like, honestly, the vibrators just become a part of the decor.
It's totally true.
I
Yeah.
have no
It's about
concept
the
of what is
people.
next to me, because it's so much more about like a customer experience and, you know, like I said, building that confidence for people. Because a lot of the time, and I'm sure anybody who's ever worked in retail or any kind of service industry can tell you that 99% of the time, people just want to be heard. They want to be heard and they want to feel validated, and that's all you have to do is let them speak, and they're going to tell you what they need. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's true of your partners as well. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so big. It's so big, and you know, we talk about this a lot when clients come in, and one of the most basic emotional need of everybody, you know, above your physical needs of air, water, shelter, safety, is to feel like you belong.
Yes.
And belonging comes from being heard and seen, and that's exactly what you do. Not only are you doing that, but you're also giving permission, like you're permission giving, and you are also normalizing, and you are also creating vocabulary, like you said, for somebody to go on and use, and modeling this conversation, even like, okay, well, this is how they talked about it, so I think I could do that. I think I could talk about like, you know, talk about this like that with my partner. So it's just so much bigger. Like I can't even like, you know, express this enough. It's so much bigger than just, you know, going to buy a sex toy. You can buy a sex toy online, but you get an experience, right?
Yes,
at Velvet
absolutely.
Box, right?
People bring their kids, you know, to see us. Like,
absolutely.
and I had a woman in the store. She brought her teenage daughter in, and I had another customer was like, "Can you believe that?" And I was like, "I would rather, if I had a daughter, I have two sons, they're teenagers. I would rather, you know, them experience, you know, something with a toy than some boy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Absolutely, every time. Like that's the safest way.
Right. It's the
So,
safest way to learn.
absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
So, you know, it also, we give you the vocabulary on how to talk to your kids, which is super important, because if they don't learn it from you, they're going to learn it.
right.
It's just maybe not the way you hoped, you know, with porn being so accessible online. And I have no problem with the porn industry, but like that's not a proper education on how sex works, and any porn star will tell you the same.
Right.
And that's not the way kids or adults should learn.
And that's how we are learning.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
and all of
Absolutely.
the internet native kids are learning that way.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
so
It's what's accessible.
it is what is accessible, because we as adults find it hard to talk about.
Yes.
And you know, I always say, I was just talking to a group of women last week, and they were asking me, how do you talk to your kids about sex? Like, you get real frank about like how you feel about sex yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the reason we carry shame about talking to our kids about sex, we're worried they're going to, like, I hear this a lot, I'm worried I'm going to take away my kids' like
their innocence,
Innocence.
yeah.
Innocence is the word. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I'm going to take my kids' innocence, but like if you really understand sex as a pure and beautiful and pleasurable thing, there's nothing dirty about that, right? And so
Absolutely.
you're not taking innocence, you're actually giving, something beautiful. And so understanding yourself sexually is a big part of having that conversation with your kids.
Especially if your kids have access to the internet.
Oh yeah.
The internet will take that innocence that you're worried about.
Right.
So, like, have a conversation. My husband and I always said that our rule was we would never not answer a question with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So with the, like, back in the day, our parents sometimes would say, well, you're too young.
Right.
Too young to know. I'll tell you when you're older. That's not an answer that they like. So they have access to the internet now.
Right.
They're just going to Google it, which God forbid. Because the things that you find on there are not accurate.
Right.
Or ask their friends, which is just worse.
Right.
No.
So
Because their friends Googled it 5 minutes ago. And they're like, whoa. I know.
No, you don't.
You don't.
And so, I always said, if my kids had a question about sex, I was just going to tell them, whatever the question was, I just gave you the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my house, it's not uncommon to, Mom, what's a flogger? Okay, well, that's what this is, because they hear that word in different places,
Right.
Not at home necessarily, but they hear it in shows. I mean, all kinds of
Sure.
Netflix shows and stuff these days. All of that stuff's everywhere.
Right.
Mom, what's 50 Shades of Grey? Well,
Yeah.
it's incorrect BDSM.
Right.
Thank you.
Poorly
Thank
researched.
you. Oh my goodness.
Poorly researched
Took us
BDSM.
back a trillion years.
It's right. It's like
But we still get questions on that every single day.
every day.
Every day. And so
Yeah.
I have to, I have a whole section of training about 50 Shades and proper BDSM.
Absolutely.
And it's a whole thing because people
Yeah.
still ask about it.
Yes. Like we talk about, how pornography and erotica, they're both fantasy. It's like you're watching a Star Wars movie. That's not real.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's the exact same thing.
I always say trying to learn about healthy sexuality from watching porn is like trying to learn how to drive by watching all 8 Fast and Furious. Right?
That's so accurate.
Right, but the difference
I love that.
is,
That's accurate.
and you can feel free to steal.
Oh, good.
The difference is from the day we're 3 days old, coming home from the hospital from wherever, we're in a car being modeled healthy driving
Yes.
behavior. That's
Right.
the reason
Absolutely.
we don't go out and try and drive like Fast and Furious, but we are not modeled, and
No.
probably for good reason, not modeled from our parents, good sexual behavior, but we need to be talking about,
Absolutely. Yeah.
healthy sexual behavior and pleasurable sexual behavior, and we just don't. So
Yes.
then
Right.
when it is accessed through pornography, it feels like the truth.
Yes.
And so that our kiddos and even some of us are educated on what should be entertainment like Fast and
Yes.
Furious, but there's no comparison. There's
No.
something to hold it accountable,
Right.
like
Absolutely.
proper driving behavior or driver's ed or whatever.
Yes.
And so it just becomes truth. And
Yes.
then you run into problems, and you're in my office, 10 years into your marriage because you don't know why she doesn't want to have anal sex with spit. And
Yes.
it's just a lot of relearning
Yes.
what is healthy sexual behavior and relearning your expectations for that if you have been educated on pornography. And I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, like
but,
I get it.
yeah.
My they send that letter home every year about, my kids' schools. They're going to teach sex ed. And I say,
Oh, that's neat that they teach that now.
That's
no,
cute. That's cute.
that's cute. But I say, okay, Logan, which is my oldest, I say, okay, you can go, but I want you to tell me everything they say.
Yeah.
And I absolutely want you to call them out when they're wrong.
Yeah.
And
totally doing that.
he totally did too. Like they were talking about how abstinence is the best course of they're teaching abstinence. Of course they are.
Naturally.
It's fine. How it's the best course of
Okay, so I'll go with safest.
safest,
inaction.
sure. And they were saying, in order to avoid, pregnancy or STIs or rape, abstinence is the best course. And my son stood up and was like, I'm sorry, how do you stay abstinence against rape? I would love to know.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Right. Can
everyone
you
in the
define that
class
for
would
me?
really love
Yeah.
to know how that works. And I got a call from the school, and I was like, I'm going to take him out for ice cream. He's not getting punished for this.
No,
You
right,
should
it's
be
not.
punished for this.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And so, like, every year I let them go, but I'm like, I want full report of everything that they say.
Yeah, I'm so glad. He's like the mole.
Yeah.
He's like the inner working of the school system. I love it. Yeah.
Do you guys remember a couple of years ago there was a faith-based motivational speaker? I think that like Richardson hired Justin Lookadoo. Do you guys remember that whole thing?
I was not here, so probably not.
No, you were here.
Oh, okay.
This was like 2 or 3 years
Oh,
ago.
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, there was this huge thing because he had like this website that was like, are you dateable? And dateable girls only wear certain things, and dateable girls don't kiss boys, and so on and so forth. Just like stupid. It was
That
just
makes me
stupid.
sick.
And I vividly remember this because the students of Richardson ISD, if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost certain it was Richardson, went after him on Twitter and were just like, we can't believe that our school paid for this. Like, this person came and gave education. Like, this is not acceptable. And it ended up being a national issue.
Yeah.
So the school that I graduated from, bless them, also hired him.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Not once, but twice in my time there. And I was thrown out of both assemblies. Once in 7th grade and once, I think, when I was a junior.
Activist for birth.
I know, right?
I love it.
It was, the comparison that young women that have sexual experience are somehow less valuable and, just...
Wait, but you gotta,
Yeah.
how?
Uh-huh.
How? It takes two people.
No,
Yeah.
I know,
No,
right?
but only women are held responsible.
Yeah, we're only held
so-
responsible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they do the tape thing?
Yes.
Ah,
it was
the
the
tape.
sticky tape.
Sticky
Yes.
tape, yeah.
Yeah, you lose your stickiness. Yeah,
I've also
that-
heard
mhm.
chewing gum. Like,
Oh.
I've heard that
brownies,
one.
I've heard
Yeah.
socks. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I was thrown out of both of those because that I had questions. And I was like, can you explain to me why we shouldn't know our bodies and like why this is unacceptable, and also why you're not going after young men? Because you're talking to me about how I shouldn't wear short shorts, but you're not talking to young men about how they maybe just shouldn't take sexual advantage of strangers or people that they know.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
just how about instead we go for enthusiastic consent? I want a firm affirmative yes.
Yes,
That's
yeah,
what
absolutely,
I want.
absolutely.
Yes.
If there is even a question,
Yes.
that's not it.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to teach my boys too.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're
know.
doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I always tell parents the one thing you need to try and strive to be is the person that your child comes to for questions.
Absolutely.
Right? And that groundwork is laid with truth telling
Yes.
and naming body parts the appropriate
Yes.
thing from birth and all of those things. But really it's not really about how much and when and whatever with the content. I do want you to, talk to your kids early and often and make it a dialogue that
Yes.
matures as they mature. But really, it's about becoming that trusted adult that they come to with questions.
Absolutely.
And if you can do that, you're ahead of the game. And are they going to access porn at some point and have questions? Probably so. But
Yes.
then you want them to come to you
Yeah.
and say, like, is this real?
Yeah, I saw this thing.
I saw this thing. Is that like
Yeah.
something people do?
Yeah.
And then you can have that honest conversation and give them a groundwork of sex education that's healthy and prioritizes pleasure and
Yes.
consent and all these other things.
Because
So
if you treat it like a bad word, like body parts, that you can't say penis, you can't say clitoris, vagina, whatever.
right.
Your kids are gonna say it.
Absolutely.
They're just like any other bad word. They may not say it around you, but they're gonna say it, and they're gonna Google it, and they're gonna find things that you wish that they would have asked you. And sometimes it's too late
Right.
at some point.
And it connotates or creates darkness around it. And whenever we
Yes.
create darkness around it, it promotes shame. So
Yes.
like, well, my mom did never say clitoris, so why?
Yeah.
Right.
And why can't I say mine? And I certainly shouldn't touch it. If I can't even say
Yes,
it, I should
exactly.
definitely not touch it.
No.
So
Yeah.
it definitely promotes that idea of it's not okay.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
it's
okay.
rough. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sexual shame is something that, of course, I think all of us see on a regular basis. Like, I, again, grew up in a really rural area, and I have a friend that I grew up with who admitted to me a couple of years ago that after she got married, it took her like 6 months to have sexual intercourse with her husband,
Right.
because she had so much shame around her own body.
Yeah.
And about how you should never give this away. That's something that you should keep for you forever, and so on and so forth. And they're happily married. They've been married like 9 years now, but it's something that it took her a really long time to process. And I think that sexual shame is something that a lot of people don't consider with their partners. Maybe your partner doesn't like something, or maybe they just don't know how to articulate that it's not that they don't like it, it's that they've always been shown that it's inappropriate to try
Yes.
Right.
or investigate.
Yes.
Right.
And I think that that's something that is
Yeah.
really frustrating.
Right, and we deal with
And so
sexual
sad.
shame, and I'm sure Beth does in her practice too.
Oh, yeah.
All like
Oh, yeah.
everybody, and in part, I believe that I would say the vast majority of women carry shame around their
Oh,
sexuality
absolutely.
for some reason or another.
It's
so
not
we-
ladylike.
In some
right,
way,
Yeah, that's what
in
we're
some
taught.
way. I mean,
Yeah.
just because of unbiased cultural things that we experience as women. And certainly many men have a lot of sexual shame, shame around their own sexuality. So yeah, it's definitely something we need to continue to talk about and continue to understand and push forward through in our vulnerability. So yeah, it comes up with people that come into the Velvet Box. It comes up with most everybody that comes into the practice too.
Right.
So,
I imagine,
and it comes out in all kinds of different ways, but yes, just in general, sexual shame is a huge topic, something that we carry a lot of.
Yes,
absolutely.
Okay, so let's just lighten things up a little bit. And I love that we're having these deep and meaningful conversations, because as a listener, you can know that if you experience these things, you are not alone.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
You are not alone, and there is help and resources out there for you to help you even dip your toe into the conversation of why do I feel like I can't touch myself? Why do I feel like it was like sex was really difficult when I waited until marriage. This is my story, right? I waited until marriage, and then the next day I'm supposed to be some sexual vixen, and like I don't know, and I experienced incredible painful intercourse because of this, because of the shame. And so, if you are experiencing that, you aren't alone.
No.
But there is another way.
Absolutely.
There's another way, and it can be a very beautiful and powerful thing to transition into sex as a powerful enriching tool instead of sex as something that you feel ashamed of.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't save yourself until marriage.
No,
absolutely.
It just means that you're experiencing your own pleasure and learning how, releasing that sexual shame and learning how your body works. And, then, you can be a sexual vixen the day after you get married, kind of.
Yeah, if you were totally, all the way there, and I always talk about my issue with abstinence-only education is that it promotes a less than a psychology, right?
Yes.
You are less than if you don't. Instead of promoting a sex is so powerful, you may want to explore this slowly.
Yes.
Then that's it, and that's totally fine. But you have to really understand the difference, and it's a hard line to walk and dialogue about.
Yes.
Because of the tendency to say that you are less than or you are not as good if you don't.
Absolutely.
You're somehow invalidated.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a really hard, fine line to walk, and I don't think it's a line that institutions need to walk for us.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just think promoting health and safety is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Whatever sexual choice you make is yours to make, and it shouldn't be influenced by someone else. It should be a very, very personal choice, and I want everybody to know how to do that safely, comfortably, and consensually.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What a beautiful soundbite. I love it. Yeah. So quickly, tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Do you guys do Valentine's Day? It's a really busy season for us. I realize this. So do you is it a yay? Is it a nay? Do you celebrate it? Do you hate it? What is it about it?
My husband and I have this kind of a ritual. While everybody else is seeing lovey movies, if we obviously are not going to get to spend Valentine's Day together.
Right.
Clearly.
Right.
So yeah, this is a big day.
This is a big day. I'm working. But when we do go out like this weekend or whatever, we will go see the craziest action movie or the bloodiest horror movie. Because I cannot with the chick.
Done.
I can't with the lovey. I just can't.
Right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm Valentine's out. But I also don't really love romance movies or chick movies. They call them, which is incredibly offensive.
Right. Sure.
My husband loves those movies.
So what you're saying is I should text Charles when I want to go.
I know, I'm getting it right. Yeah.
But we will go see great horror movies or something like that, and then we always joke that we do after Valentine's Day because all the candy is on clearance.
Yeah, that's
and the restaurants are empty.
And the restaurants are empty. Yeah, exactly. Everybody's already back to fighting.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love it. They say that you should get holiday candy always, like Halloween candy or Valentine's candy, because it's the freshest.
Yes.
Like instead of the candy that's always on the shelf, like the ones that are prepackaged for a certain holiday,
it's true.
The fresh. So.
Today I learned.
There you go. And Saint Valentine was beheaded, so
it's true. So
I think horror movies
it's great.
Very apropos. Okay,
that's right.
Erin, what are you doing?
I'm working.
I got you.
Yeah, no. So Valentine's Day has never been a really big thing for me. For me, me, so I don't know if you guys do the whole 5 love languages thing, but like
Yeah.
my love language is very much quality time, which
Yeah.
is evenly matched with words of affirmation.
Nice.
So I want you to show up and hang out with me on like a Thursday that's not Valentine's Day,
Yeah.
and I'm good. I don't care. I don't need like.
You don't need the gifts or the acts of service.
And don't get me
or-
wrong, I always like flowers. They're pretty.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, it's just not a big thing for me. I think that my partner will also be working in like Houston, so
Oh, okay. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
not a big day.
Not a
yeah.
big day.
Yeah, it's a big day for work. You know, we've
Yes.
got lots of people coming in,
And I love it for
and
that.
I do. And before I was in the industry, and you're submersed in it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, we would give each other little gifts or something like that, but we never did like the whole huge
All
thing.
out,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, we have kids.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love Valentine's Day from a social perspective because I
Absolutely.
love a day that reminds couples to like really celebrate and appreciate them,
Yes.
like their partners, because regardless of what day that is, just I think it's really important to validate and appreciate your partner. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I used to be very much like, I'm going to wear black on Valentine's Day. You know, I was like that girl in high school.
Same.
But
Yeah.
like as I've grown and matured and been in love for a long time, it feels more like, oh, this is a lovely way to show intention.
Right.
And I think that it just, I like it more than my partner's birthday is actually on Valentine's Day, so we celebrate him.
Right,
But,
of course.
in general, as a rule, I do like the holiday more than I used to.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it shows up intentionality. So
Yeah.
yeah. Tiffany, do you have plans, girl?
No.
Ryan?
Just a quiet no.
I mean, we talked about going to Shreveport or something over the
Oh, yeah,
weekend,
fun.
but I mean, you know, as far as tomorrow, no, I'll cook a special dinner for my kiddos and
Yeah.
and get them little Valentines. But
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
adorable.
yeah,
It is kind of
Love
fun, like in terms of kids, like showing your love to your kids. I think that's kind of fun.
I mean, yeah, I loved when I was little. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I loved buying the Valentines and handing
Yeah.
out Valentines and all that. Like, it's
My
just
kids
something
love
I
that.
love that.
Yeah.
But as far as us celebrating Valentine's Day, we'll celebrate over the weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Have sex, you guys. Go have
Yes.
sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be intentional. Put sex on the brain because the brain has to follow. The body will always follow the brain. So
Mhm.
Valentine's Day is a great way to be intentional about sexuality.
Stop by and pick up something hot too, because we
Yes.
got some great items
We
in
just
store.
got
We have
some fantastic lingerie.
so much
Oh,
new,
good. I
so
need to
many
check
new
out the
lines of
lingerie.
toys
Yeah.
too, which are great.
Yeah, go by Velvet Box. They have an event tomorrow night from
Yes.
5 to 8.
Eight.
Yes.
Thank you. Get some cupcakes, get some flowers, grab some lingerie or a sex toy or some
Yes.
lubricant. Just really any old thing that you know you have had on your mind. It's a great day to do tomorrow. So
I recommend the Womanizer. It's
Oh,
amazing.
God, yes.
I've been
Yeah,
like
everybody
actually
needs a womanizer.
recommending it since
It's-
Marcel talked about it.
It's God's gift to women.
It is.
So the womanizer, if you don't know,
Yes.
and I know we're a little over.
Oh,
but,
you're good.
Okay. I'm like, Tiffany, are we okay? The womanizer is, well, y'all should actually probably just sell the toy, but it has to do with air technology.
Yes,
so,
it's a clitoral toy, and it has air pulsation technology. So there are some toys
So
out
not
there.
sucking. You guys need to
No.
realize it's
No.
not
Yes, no.
sucking.
It's actually blowing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually it's kind of a push and
Like a
pull,
puff,
yeah.
and it's like this beautiful. When you put it on your hand, like, you know, because that's how we test the power of a vibrator.
Yeah.
This is not a vibrator, and so when you're holding it, you're like, this is not doing anything. Trust me, it is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And when I first, you know, got my hands on one, I was like, this is so stupid. Like, it's called the Womanizer.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all.
First of all, I hate the name. I'll
Yeah,
just
no,
say
no,
I do
we,
not like the
we
name.
do too, but we're taking it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna take it back
We're
because
gonna own it.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
But most women cannot get past setting 3 or 4,
Yeah.
and there's
Interesting.
11 to 14
12.
settings. Oh yeah, the new one has 12.
Wow.
So it's incredible, and it guarantees orgasm in less than 5 minutes. And honestly, it could say guarantees multiple.
For real,
Like, it's
though.
that good. It's that good.
I think my favorite thing about it is that because of the kind of technology
Yes.
it uses, the clitoris doesn't experience that overstimulation,
Overstimulation, yep.
that you get
Yeah.
with a traditional
So no
vibrator.
numbing, yeah.
No numbing.
Yeah.
But also repeat use, because that it stimulates blood flow to the area. It also makes it easier to reach orgasm with a partner with
Yes.
direct stimulation.
'Cause it makes it more
it's
sensitive.
much more
Yeah.
sensitive over time.
Love
so.
that.
It's
Big
amazing.
fan, big fan.
Yeah, I have been recommending it, and I had a client who actually was in Australia. So I do
cool.
I
Nice.
do virtual consults. So I had a client
That's
in
cool.
Australia, and she was like, "Is this the one that you're recommending?" I'm like, "Yes,
Yes.
that's the one."
the one.
So it's
That is
going
the
global.
one.
It's going
Yeah.
global.
That's awesome.
Love it.
Well, you guys stop by Velvet Box tomorrow to pick up some cupcakes. Sorry, did I interrupt you, Tiffany? No. Okay. I have to say something. Thank you from the bottom of my heart,
Absolutely.
Grace and
Thank
Aaron,
you.
for coming in to
Thank
be
you for
on the
having
show.
us.
I
We
hope you
enjoyed
come
it a
back.
lot.
Will you come
Absolutely.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
You can't say no on air.
No
But
pressure,
I always
right?
get people to come back. Yeah. My name is Dr. Celeste Holbrook. Thank you for joining us for this hour of Let's Talk About Sex. If you are interested in renovating your sex life, I do offer a course called Elevate. It's for helping you overcome things like sexual shame, low libido, and painful intercourse. I am running a special for Valentine's Day. So
nice.
if you purchase the course, and I'll link it in the comments, if you purchase the course Valentine's Day through the 16th, you will get a free consult, which is a $125 value. So I'm hoping that you are ready to kind of, after listening to Grace and Aaron today, you're kind of ready to take the next step in your sexual journey and maybe work through some of those, pain issues or shame issues or low libido, low arousal, that kind of thing. And I can take you through that process with Elevate. So I hope you will check it out. And thanks for listening. Thanks, Aaron and Grace, for being here. As always,
Thank
Tiffany,
you.
it's always a
Thank you.
pleasure. And
Always.
we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.